Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Dana. If you have not been here before, welcome. Consider subscribing if you're not already. Give this video a like if you do enjoy it. And let's get into it. So, like I said, my name is Dana. I do videos on skincare, sunscreen, all of the things, sometimes even some makeup. But one of the main things on my channel is that I want to really encourage intentional consumerism, which means you guys come to me for maybe a review, maybe to see how a sunscreen looks or, looks on a certain skin type. But it doesn't mean that you buy every single thing. That's what I want to encourage over and over again, because I do the work so you don't have to, basically. And sometimes that's really hard. Sometimes it means like, ooh, I love that product so much, it looks perfect. Let me put it in my cart, save it until I need it. Other times it's not so hard. Today might be one of those times. So let's jump into the review. Today, wow, this looks so big. This is the Relevant Your Skin Scene. Wow, I never saw that. Anyway, the Relevant One and Done Everyday Cream with R-Rev Complex Broad Spectrum SPF 40 Sunscreen. That was way too hard to say. Anyway, this packaging is stunning. I think that was actually one of the reasons that I bought it, other than the fact that the marketing was done really well and it was, a one and done. So you get like a moisturizer, a primer, SPF, what else? A primer, sunscreen. Did I say them all? So yeah, it has a moisturizer, sunscreen, serum, and primer. That's what they say. It's a 4-in-1, one and done. So that's kind of what got me. I just put it in my cart right away. I also was like, this is a mineral sunscreen and it's made by a Black-owned business. So I just, how can you go wrong? Like, they are gonna make a good sunscreen, right? Because you typically, mineral sunscreens without a tint, they're going to look ashy or have a white cast on people with deeper skin tones, myself included. And I don't have a deep skin tone, but I have like a medium, sometimes light medium skin tone. And I have plenty of sunscreens that give me a white cast. So it's not hard, but I was really, really hopeful. So let's go over the specs of it and then we'll get into the demo and my final thoughts. So this retails for $38, not cheap, pretty middle range, but also like pretty close to $40, which is kind of like when I start thinking it's a little bit higher end. You get 50 milliliters or 1.7 ounces, and it is an SPF 40. It's also a mineral sunscreen, and it has 2 filters, which are the only 2 mineral filters. You have zinc oxide at 1% and titanium dioxide at 2%. So those are really low percentages. I know that percentages aren't the only factor of how you get to the SPF labeled, but those are so low. So when I saw those, I was like, okay, this is gonna be incredibly sheer then, because the lower it is, typically the less of a cast you have, just because you're not working with as much of the ingredient that is transparent. Like zinc oxide is white, and it just is very hard to make it not white. So I was like, okay, this is kind of like reminiscent of the Wander Beauty one I have reviewed here. But did I go over all the specs? No, I didn't. I got too eager. Let's go over the specs. Okay, so what they say about it from their website: made to suit all skin tones from the lightest to the darkest without leaving a white cast. It's a lightweight moisturizer, sunscreen, serum, and primer in one. It has titanium dioxide, like I said, zinc oxide, squalane, which is a great like lighter oil. It's going to be dry, soak in quicker. Sodium hyaluronate, which is hyaluronic acid, which is great, and then apple extract. I didn't look too much into their like proprietary R-Rev thing, what's it called, ingredient, just because I don't go to my sunscreens for my skincare. I do my skincare, I do my sunscreen, I keep them separate. So that's not a big draw for me, but if it is for you, definitely go ahead and check that out. Okay, so this is what the packaging looks like. Again, this is stunning packaging. I think they did a great job with the branding, and it does have a pump top, which is kind of nice. It just makes it a lot less like easier application for the most part. Okay, those are pretty much the specs. Not a lot to it. It's one and done. Like, this is the only thing you need. Now let's apply it and see what it looks like. So as you know, I always do 1/4 teaspoon when I am doing a full review on a product, because 1/4 teaspoon is what you should be using for your neck and your face. I'm gonna try to get it all level in there, and we're gonna apply it to my face. So before I get going, I do wanna mention I have normal skin. It's getting lighter. I definitely have more of a tan in the summer, and then in the winter, of course, I am lighter. Pretty normal skin. It gets drier in the winter, a little bit oilier in the summer, but nothing crazy. So, and when I do apply a white mineral sunscreen, I always do it in little kind of, well, that's not little, but I try to do it in small, thin layers, and then I use as many as I need to actually get my coverage. So I'm gonna stop talking and apply. Okay, so that is about half of my quarter teaspoon, and I think this is where this sunscreen works, because people will pump out one pump, maybe two, apply it to their face, and it's pretty clear and not clear, it's pretty invisible, and there's not much of a cast, maybe around the edges and on your eyebrows, but for the most part, it does work really well. Now, the problem that I've had in the past, and this might change, who knows, is when I go in to apply the rest. And I think that's where certain sunscreens kind of fail. It's just because you're not using enough, so you don't have a cast. But when you start using more, the proper amount, then you have a cast. So let's see. There's definitely a bit of a cast. I did want to go over kind of some of their claims and then my final thoughts on it as well. So I think for a 4-in-1, that's what they claim that it is. I think that 100% carries true. It is a moisturizer. My skin feels really nice and moisturized. It's a serum. It's a makeup primer. If you're looking for that hydrating kind of primer, it's not going to be a tacky primer, but I think all of those, it definitely checks those boxes. So big plus for that. In terms of no white cast from the lightest to the darkest, here's the thing. If you use 1 or 2 pumps and apply it somewhat like not globbing it on, then you might not have a cast, especially depending on your skin tone. But if you're using the full amount, or the correct full amount, which is 1/4 teaspoon, like I've said millions of times, you might have a little bit more of a cast. I had to really kind of finesse this one. It took a long time, and it still has a bit of a cast. Like, this is a sunscreen I would need to put makeup on over, but it's not terrible as far as kind of like mineral sunscreens go. But my other things about it is, for $38 for a non-tinted mineral sunscreen, you can go out and get a drugstore one that really kind of operates the same. The Cetaphil one is more fluid, blends in really quickly. I have a video on drugstore non-tinted mineral sunscreens. You can check that out if you're looking for cheaper options. I do like the fact that this is a Black-owned brand. I think it's an indie brand. Those are great things. Like, I like to support the smaller brands out there. But I just think for $38, it's not checking all of the boxes for me. The other thing is, when you have to layer that many times to get it to work, I do tend to have a little bit more pilling than I would if I can just put it on in one fell swoop. So sometimes I'll see a little bit on the sides, but it's nothing quite as bad as like the Ilia See Beyond, which just doesn't play well with anything. So this one's not bad, and it does wear really nicely under makeup, so that's a huge plus for me. So I think if this is exactly what you're looking for, you want an indie brand, you want a non-tinted mineral sunscreen, you could get it, but I don't think it's the one. Like, unfortunately, I just don't think it's the one. And the other one small thing I did want to mention is I don't love how the percentages are so low. I know they have a SPF 40, which means it was approved by the FDA. I just think if you're going to be out in the sun for a long time, with those percentages, you are either going to have to reapply or just don't be out in direct sun for a long time, because I wouldn't be super confident that I would be getting the protection that I needed. So that's about it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know if you have heard of any other indie brands, because I love reviewing indie skincare and sunscreens. And I will see you guys in my next one. Bye. Can you see this? So I've had the sunscreen on for like 2 hours or so, and it's just, let me show you in a better light, but it's kind of a rash. It itches and it's just rashy and it doesn't feel great, but I haven't felt it on my face, so I'm not quite sure like why it would do that. Also, it's a mineral sunscreen. Like, That's weird. I've never had irritation from a mineral sunscreen, but it's definitely there. And I didn't use anything else. And I didn't put I didn't use anything else today on my neck at all. Like I have makeup on, but I didn't put it down because it was so itchy. So I don't know if I'm going to continue using it. I don't know if it's from the sunscreen or maybe one of the ingredients in there. I don't have sensitive skin, so that's surprising, but I just thought I would come on at the end and just kind of share this update. So